Shut the lights down in the city, say the system's on the ropes, while the same hands that broke it hold your paycheck and your hopes. They'll sell your sweat for silver, call your sacrifice relief, but every drop of truth we bleed writes another line of belief. Freedom isn't free, it's carved in blood and fire and stone. It's the price of stand tall when they tell you to kneel and go home. They can lock up every promise, tax the air we breathe, but they'll never chain the hearts of those who still believe. 'Cause freedom isn't free. They preach peace from marble towers while they fence off your front yard. They wave a flag made out of rules and call obedience smart. They'll brand your voice as danger, they'll mock your faith as greed, but freedom don't need permission, it just needs men who'll bleed. Freedom isn't free, it's carved in blood and fire and stone. It's the price of standing tall when they tell you kneel and go home. They can lock up every promise, tax the air we breathe, but they'll never change the hearts of those who still believe. 'Cause freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free, it's written in red on history's page, a warning to the tyrants and the cowards of the age. They can bury us in silence, but the truth still screams. Freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN.
Come gather round the footlights, lads, and hear the old boards groan. A tale of ink and iron will, of voices overblown. From mics and scripts to painted sails, we've traded shore for sea. The players will man the rigging soon. Aye, your hands, follow me. we just ship a single breath. The course is not set yet. We players sail, we players sail, we players sail soon. All hands to KLRN Radio, setting sail for Treasure Island, March 2026!
Of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Got a vendetta. Coffee tastes like bad decisions I ain't made yet. Boss man talking about we got her, and that means me, brother. Afraid I got a terminal case of the I don't want us. Mind checked out, heart ain't in the building. That second hand's crawling like it hates my guts. The man treating rich like it's a sin, even God took a beat. So, suck it. Thank God it's Friday, punching out loud. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday. 'Cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't owning me. So raise 'em up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's all I know. HR in the break room sounding like a preacher, talking about culture smiles and being team players. Clipboard dreams on the fluorescent light, selling hours of my life just to make it to Friday night. Got dirt on my jeans, and grease on my hands, clock more over than quality plans. But when that bell rings, it's a holy sound. Feel like chains hit the floor when it echoes around. I ain't lazy, I just work my fill. If rest is a sin, guess I always will. Thank God it's Friday, punching out live. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday. 'Cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't on me. So raise 'em up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's Friday, punching out a light. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill's still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I clerk. Till Monday, cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't on to me. So raise 'em up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's all I know.
And welcome into the Finally Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show. And Ryan, you're going to have to let me know where you're trying to go with this, brother man, because I don't exactly know why you're asking me if white people have stolen black culture. Because here in America, it's kind of the other way around. Just saying. Because, this whole African-American concept's kind of stupid. Because I know people from Africa who basically have pointed out that, what they call African-Americans in Africa? Losers, because their tribes lost and they got put in cages and shipped overseas and sold off by other tribes. So I don't really know where you're going with it, but feel free to specify a little bit if you want, and I'll see if it's worth responding to or not. So we'll see. But we've got plenty of stuff to talk about today. So we got to talk about this, sadly. Might as well get the bad news out of the way first, because it's going to have to be done. Chuck Norris has passed away at the age of 86. Apparently there was a news announcement that broke sometime yesterday that he was rushed to the hospital in Hawaii. Family let the news break today that he apparently passed away. I have it on good authority that the angel of death, upon meeting Chuck Norris, said, sir, honestly, you died in the year 2000. I've just been too afraid to tell you. So apparently he got an extra 26 years out of the deal because of how terrifying he was as an individual to, although really, not really. I know people who knew him. I keep trying to say know him, but I know people who knew him, and he was apparently a down-to-earth, salt-of-the-earth human being. So, but the funny thing is, he actually started leaning in to the meme that the internet created about him a few times on some interviews that I had seen recently. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, apparently 2026 and 2025 are trying to mess with me, because first you took Hulk Hogan and then you took this guy. And there have been a few others that have come across over the last about year and a half. I'm just kind of looking at it going, I don't like getting older, because everybody that I like is dying. I don't like it. But yeah, so we had to talk about that. I actually even put, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, it's all over social. I created a meme about that today because I decided that I needed to laugh because I was pretty sad about that. Chuck Norris was somebody that I watched all the time. I enjoyed all of his work. I remember being in my 20s and watching some of his infomercials about that Total Gym stuff and almost buying one more than once. Now I kind of wish I had, but anyway. All right, so we got that out of the way. So you guys may have heard for a while that, according to the lamestream media, or as I call them, the zombie media, because, if you listen to them long enough, they turn you into themselves, which is a zombie. Pardon me, that one kind of snuck up on me. But they have been basically trying to get the memo going around that Israel was the one who forced us to do what we were doing in Iran. And yeah, so anybody who thinks that's true, who have been basically painting Donald Trump as some sort of an authoritarian dictator type moron, you can't have it both ways. So is he the evil mastermind or is he the puppet? Because he can't be both. So I need you to pick a lane. Is he the evil mastermind trying to destroy the world and bringing all of his MAGA supporters along for the ride while we're all salivating and drooling? Or is he the evil, or is he the puppet? Because he was Putin's puppet first, according to y'all. And now apparently he's Netanyahu's puppet. But the Prime Minister of Israel says, nah, that's not how any of this works. But yeah, so as a matter of fact, Trump and Netanyahu are kind of at odds right now because of yet another strike on Iranian oil infrastructure. So yeah, that's really not how any of this works. But again, if you guys could just pick a lane and stay in it, that would be awesome. But of course, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff tonight that all ties back to this. Well, today, sorry. I do multiple shows a week, so sometimes I forget what day and what time it is. So if I say the wrong thing, just assume it's because I know some of you are going to be listening to this later, as opposed to watching it live. So I'm trying to make you guys feel included too. Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket. It wasn't a weird, lack of sleep, trying to do too much work, kind of slip or nothing. But so yeah, the general idea here is, according to the left, Donald Trump is both the evil dictator who is never going to leave office, but is also the puppet of other regimes. And according to Eric Doherty, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu basically had a response regarding this whole. Yeah, well, it's not my fault, man. It's not my fault. I got to talk about the news. So yeah, I'm getting flack. For those of you that aren't in the chat, I'm getting flack from the chat for talking about Chuck Norris because I'm apparently making people cry at work. That's not my fault, man. It's really not. I'm being honest. It's not my fault. I didn't want him to die either, but here we are. All right, so hang on. Let me get this queued up because I got distracted responding to the chat. So hang on. And of course, now that I'm trying to talk for a living, my voice is suddenly deciding that it hates me again. So give me just a moment. All right, so let's get this queued up. For those of you who are wondering why this takes so long, I am my own producer, so if things seem a little laggy from time to time, it's usually because I'm fighting the system. All right, so my question looks like, I'm not even going to try to say your name. You know who the hell you are. Who is stupid? I have a question. I'm trying to get clarification because I'm trying to find out if you get to stay in the chat or not. Because, dude, I'm going to say this. For those of you that are finding us, coming into my chat room for me is a lot like coming into my living room. If you can behave, you can stay. If you start talking trash, then you're going to have to go. And if you start insulting anybody, whether it's myself, somebody in the chat, or somebody that I'm talking about, then you're likely going to be made to leave. And if you don't like that, then just feel free to see your way out now. Because I do believe in free speech, but I believe in free speech with limits. Because you have the right to say whatever the hell you want. I don't necessarily have to listen to it or read it, however. So you decide where that line is for you, and we'll see if we can get along. But anyway. So here is Netanyahu's response to that stupid fallacy going all over the place.
These opening remarks with one other fake news, and that is that Israel somehow dragged the U.S. into a conflict with Iran. Does anyone really think that someone can tell President Trump what to do? Come on. President Trump always makes his decisions on what he thinks is good for America, and may I add, I think what is also good for future generations. These opening remarks with one other fake news, and that is that Israel.
And that's kind of been my point all along for everybody who keeps saying, well, you do know, and no, I don't know. Because here's the thing. If you think Donald Trump is one of these people that can basically be told what to do and led around by the nose, then you, again, need to pick a lane because he can't be an evil dictator and somebody's puppet at the same time. So you need to pick a lane. But Donald Trump is never really told what to do. He takes information from everyone, including people that sometimes some of us, when I found out Tucker Carlson was going into the White House, I was like, with everything Tucker's been doing lately, I don't really know how I feel about that. But at the same time, if the president's willing to listen to all sides before he makes a decision, that is a pretty strong way to make an informed decision, even if I disagree with some of the people that he's been talking to. Because, in my opinion, they've gone a little nuts. But that's just me. So, but yeah, this whole idea that, again, somehow he can be both someone's puppet and the evil mastermind at the same time, just that doesn't work. That doesn't work. So for those of you on the feral left, because you're the ones that are in control of everything right now, in your party anyway, you need to kind of pick a lane, because the other thing you need to come to terms with is Donald Trump is not going to be on the ballot in 2028 because he's probably going to declare himself emperor and just never leave, at least according to you guys. And yes, I'm trolling the leftists that I know are lurking in my chats, because I don't think that's actually going to happen. But at the same time, you probably need to start changing tax, because 2026 isn't really going to be about Trump, and you guys are still trying to make it all about Trump. 2028 is not going to be about Trump. The scariest thing about the Democratic Party is watching it really be leaderless and rudderless for the first time in my lifetime. And a lot of that is thanks to Barack Obama and the fact that you guys started using superdelegates to appoint your nominees and then waited for the zombie to go, oh, I'm the only one who can beat him, until he flames out in the middle of a debate. And then everyone's like, we had no idea he was this bad. Dude, let me tell you this, because I see this coming across right now. Apparently, Joe Biden is working on a memoir. I have a title suggestion for him. I've forgotten more about politics than even I ever knew. Is probably the great title for his memoir, because that just kind of sums him up in a nutshell. But yeah, for those of you that for the last 4 years were like, oh, Biden's great, Biden's awesome, the economy's doing awesome, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, y'all are delusional. Or as the kids say nowadays, delulu. And you need to maybe come back to reality. Because look, like it or not, if it wasn't for Donald Trump's policies that have been enacted, we would be in so much worse shape right now, even without the Iranian conflict. Because we are energy self-sufficient again, which is helping us keep fuel prices lower than they would be otherwise. And the irony is, for the left to be screaming and yelling about places that are paying $3 and $4 a gallon for gas. And I'm not talking about New York and California, I need to come up with a new name for New York. I'll figure that out. But I'm not talking about New York and commie failure, because there's so many state and local taxes involved that their prices are $1 or $2 above pretty much anybody else's. But you guys were the same ones that all during Barack Obama's tenure were telling me that I was going to have to get used to paying $5 and $6 a gallon where I live in Oklahoma, not the national average, where in even red states that have much better energy policies, we were going to have to get used to paying $5 and $6 a gallon for gas or change to electric so that we could save the polar bears and the penguins. You are also the same people that have been telling me ever since I was a kid that first we were going to freeze to death, then we were going to burn up, then we were going to be lucky if we didn't die in nuclear winter, then we were going to be lucky enough if we didn't lose the ozone layer and get blistered to death by acid rain from going outside. Then everything went from, global cooling, global warming. Now they just call it climate change, because that's not a lie. The climate actually does change. But everything you guys tell us about what is expected to be happening with the climate never actually does. You know why? Because we actually do care enough about the climate to try to fix a lot of what we get wrong. And the scariest thing is, both parties could be doing more, and they refuse to. That's the scariest part. You know, we could be making plastic out of things like hemp that biodegrade, so we don't have oceans of trash floating everywhere. We could be making bricks out of hemp. that are better for the environment. We could be using hemp to make paper. Again, better for the environment, better crop yields. We would need less trees. So, I mean, there are things that we could literally do to make things better, but nobody wants to. The left is still beholden to technology that's now is actually literally older than I am regarding green energy. Instead of evolving with the times, they want windmills. Windmills are nothing new. They've been around for forever. There's a reason a lot of folks started trying to move away from them when we came up with better ideas on how to power everything. But nobody wants to talk about actual solutions on either side. And that's the other thing that really irritates me, is watching the left and the right fight over the SAVE Act, knowing that it's basically a 70-30 issue, no matter how you look at it. And both sides are still, well, of course, the Democrats don't want it because it's Jim Crow 2.0. But then again, everything the Republicans ever propose is Jim Crow 2.0. And then, to top everything else off, you've got the right, and you've got John Thune, and I played this clip last week, talking about how, we don't even really have the votes to do an actual talking filibuster. You don't have what now? That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. If you actually did a talking filibuster, a legitimate talking filibuster, what would happen is you don't get tags. You don't get to, nobody gets to, I'm reclaiming part of my time and I'm going to go stand in for them while they go to, no, none of that. No water breaks, no bathroom breaks, no nothing. You defend your position, whatever it is, until you run out of gas. So if nobody can get to the 60 votes, then if you stop talking or you can't stand there anymore, you have to sit down. Guess what? Filibuster's over at that point. Then it just takes a simple up or down vote. That's what we need. Because because Democrats are for this about 70-30, Republicans are for it anywhere between 80 to 85 and to 20 to 15 or 20, depending on where you look as far as the numbers. So we need to legitimately see on both sides who is actively trying to subvert the will of the people, so that each party can act accordingly and do something about it should they choose to do so. Which is why the title for today is The Feral Left is Taking Control of Their Party, because they have, and the GOP is out to lunch because we have the majority everywhere. It may not be much of a majority, but we have one. The Democrats didn't have a 60 vote threshold to break cloture when they passed Obamacare. So why can't y'all get the SAVE Act passed? Is it because you don't want to? Because that's my thought. I don't think y'all want to do it. Because if you wanted to do it, it would already be done. But y'all have gotten so used to the blue slips and the snooze button filibusters that you just go make your backroom deals and then you come out and you say it's been done. You don't tell us how it got done. You don't tell us why it went from a 1,000-page thing to a 6,000-page thing, and how come there's no time to read it. And sometimes we get the line of, we got to pass it to find out what's in it. That was probably one of my favorite lines from Pelosi, gam, of all time was, we got to pass it to find out what's in it. And then she said it, and it was captured on tape, but that was taken out of context. No, I heard the whole clip, ma'am. It was not taken out of context. So yeah, if you think I'm going to be rah-rah, sis, boom, bah for either side, you haven't been paying enough attention. I don't usually trash talk President Trump unless he does something completely crazy. Like, I saw a lot of people that got pissed off over the comments, even on my side, got pissed off over the comments he made in front of the Japanese Prime Minister yesterday. I thought it was hilarious because he wasn't smack talking her. He was talking to the reporter. And I have a clip of that we'll be playing here in just a second. Just because, like I said, I thought it was absolutely hilarious. All right, so let's see. Let's go ahead and get the first break out of the way. For those of you that are new around here, Commercials are at top of every hour. We usually take musical interlude breaks in the middle because that way I'm not constantly playing ads on you guys. And normally on Fridays, it's law enforcement celebrations and military celebrations. So first one, of course, is going to be military celebration, and we'll be getting that queued up in just a moment. But just so you know, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager at KLRradio.com. Also host this show among several others. We'll get into that more towards the close of the program. And for those of you that may be checking us out for the first time from Pickaxe, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
When the call comes in, somebody answers. Day or night, they're already moving. Calm voices, fast hands, doing the work while the rest of the world freezes. From a headset to a truck, from a badge to a door, they don't stop to count the cost. They step in when it matters. It's not about being seen, it's about being there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead, standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line through the fire, the flood. When everything falls, they don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. Before the sirens fade, before the scene is clear, someone's already making sense of the moment. Keeping people alive, keeping things from getting worse. Some run toward danger, some stay behind and hold it together. Different roles, same weight, same promise to show up. When everything's on the line, they're already there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead, standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line through the fire, the flood. When everything falls, they don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. This is service, this is sacrifice, this is how lives are saved. No spotlight, no applause, just showing up again and again. They're holding the line when the world goes dark. When everything's breaking, they hold their ground. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line. So we raise our voices for the ones who stand. Every voice, every badge, every helping hand. They don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. Always
And welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Rick Robinson. We are live. It is Friday. For those of you working for the weekend, you are nearly there. We are at lunch, well, about halfway through lunchtime on the East Coast. For those of you in God's time zone, you probably go to lunch in about 20-ish, if you're not there already. If you're at your desk, make sure you've got your earbuds in, because this show's not always suitable for work. But I know I've got a lot of you that listen while you're working, so I appreciate you for doing so. All right, so we got to talk about this next, because it's probably, again, other than the war stuff that we'll be getting to in a minute, probably one of the biggest stories of yesterday. And I got to show you this first for context, because everybody's like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that in front of her and blah, blah, blah. The problem with that is she already knew well in advance, before that comment, what Donald Trump's sense of humor was like. And I'm going to show you why right here. All right, so this is the first one.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's great to have you, and we have a very special person, just won a tremendous election in a record-setting fashion, so we have something in common. We have a very fine relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and many other things. We've become friends, and I'm very proud of the job you've done. It's not easy.
Thank you for inviting me to the White House today.
All right, so I'm going to pause right there because I want you to see what she's pointing at. Look at what she's pointing at while she's laughing her ass off. So this is the portrait wall that Donald Trump removed President Biden's actual photo and instead put up the auto pin. So she's laughing her ass off at the auto pin picture. So you explain to me how it is that so many of us, even on my side, have become such stuffed shirts that you can watch this woman who, I mean, you look, I know you can't see it very well because she's turned, her profile's not really there, but you can look, she's pointing and she's obviously laughing. He's laughing his ass off, which again tells me the entire world knew how cooked Joe Biden was. But our media and the leftist loons in our media and in our political circles, etc., did everything they could to gaslight us and tell us how great he was. And they're still doing it. I saw a billboard the other day that somebody paid for somewhere, and God bless you for having the money to do it, I guess, if you're going to be that damn retarded. But they put up a billboard that said, they called him Sleepy Joe because we could sleep at night. Okay. But that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. But sure. So, yeah. So while you guys are all clutching your pearls and, oh my God, I can't believe that he said that in front of the Japanese prime minister, blah, blah, blah. Dude, seriously, just stop. I mean, I'm not even trying to be a dick about it. Just stop. Because here's the thing. You can see it over and over and over again. But so the same people that were freaking out because he made a joke to a Japanese reporter who said, why didn't you tell us that you were going to bomb Iran before you bombed Iran? I don't know. Why didn't you tell us about Pearl Harbor? I mean, I know he said, why didn't you tell me? So, I mean, that part, I was like, I mean, granted, you were, I think if I did the math, he was probably alive back then, but he would have been a kid. But the thing about it is, for everybody who's clutching pearls, dude, it was a joke. And it was aimed at the reporter who was asking a dumbass question while his prime minister was there. Because apparently this person in Japanese media was looking for a gotcha moment. And instead, is probably going to go home and have to commit seppuku. Because the American president shamed him on worldwide television. I don't know. Do they still do that in Japan? I mean, I know that's an older custom, so maybe they don't do that anymore, but I'm sure they probably have some sort of a modern equivalent. Anyway. All right. So, but yeah, of course, we had to talk about that. And I think I actually do, if I remember right, have the actual footage from the thing that everybody's freaking out about, or was yesterday. I mean, I can't say everybody because a lot of folks were like, yeah, that was probably one of the best responses I've ever heard and was pretty appropriate. I'm not gonna say it was the best one I ever heard, but I will say that I thought it was kind of spot on, especially because he was aiming that at the reporter, not the prime minister. But here's the minute and 1 second in question.
Of course, Japan and US are very good friends. But one question: why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing you don't want to signal too much. When we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? He's asking me, no, you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. And we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out 50% of what and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise, right?
Now, I also want to point something out because this is just from the acoustics in the room. Give me just a second.
Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor?
All right. So that's that part. So look where she's looking. She's not looking at him. She's looking at the reporter. She's not looking at Trump. She's over here. If you listen to if you take a second and listen to the acoustics of the room, you can hear where old boy's asking the question from. Sorry for my inner Okie coming out for a second there.
In Europe and Asia,
See, look.
Japan,
He's looking over there. She's looking over there.
about the war before attacking Iran. So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing you don't want.
So my question is, wouldn't this have been a question to better ask your prime minister before she made the trip so she could be the one to try to get the answer for you? Because again, look where they're looking. Look where she's looking. Look at the look on her face right now. This is not the look of a happy person. And this doesn't have anything to do with what Trump said yet because he hasn't said it yet. Look at that look. She's pissed. She's mad that dude is asking this question in the middle of them trying to get together with all this different stuff that they're trying to work on, and everybody keeps misreading it. And the thing that worries me a little bit is people that I know that have had training in this stuff, probably even more training than I've had, and I've had a lot, are getting the signals wrong on this. And I'm like, you guys are not understanding this. And I get it. Part of it's Japanese culture. But look, if she was that pissed off at Trump, she wouldn't be looking away. She would be looking down. Because that's how they show disrespect. Remember, Daniel-san, always look high. Always look high, Daniel-san. Look down, disrespectful. Always look high. Always look high. Look who she's making eye contact with. Because she's letting him know that was a line that he shouldn't have crossed. And it's not directed at Trump. It's directed at the reporter. And again, just to put this in perspective, just remember the same person that everybody's like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that to her, was the same person who just a few minutes earlier was laughing her ass off at President Otto Penn. So I think we might be clutching pearls for all the wrong reasons here, ladies and gents. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm not even necessarily trying to disagree with you. I'm simply saying, after watching this clip multiple times, that I have a different take than a lot of folks that I have heard. And that's, again, if you look at her face, she ain't mad at Trump. If she had felt disrespected, she would have been looking down at her feet, not staring down the reporter. Just my 2 cents. Take it and do with it what you wish. But that's one of the major things that I definitely wanted to talk about today. because it's all over the news. All right, so we got to talk about this because this ticked me off. So anybody want to tell me what the average income is in New York City? The average median income to be able to survive in New York City is roughly $82,500 per year, which is a lot, but for New York City doesn't really sound like a lot because it's expensive as hell to live there. Why am I talking about the average median income, though? Because that's how much the city's spending on homeless people. It's about $81,000 per person per year. Why don't you just give them the money at this point? Just give them the money so they can stop being homeless. I mean, if that's what you're going to do, you've already elected a socialist, so just finish going. Go on. Go. Push it off the cliff. Push it off the cliff. We've all seen how this story ends. City of New York, the entire state of New York becomes a prison. You know what? If y'all are going to push it off the cliff, we already know how to fix it. So just finish it off. But the idea that we're spending that's just it. It is us because of salt tax, the salt stuff. Because, that's one of the things the Republicans caved on recently was because this is the funny thing. If you listen to the left, they swear that it's the blue states propping up all the red states. But if you actually look at all the salt stuff that the blue states get back, it's actually us propping them up at the federal level because they get some of our money back to help offset some of those state and local taxes that they can't really afford, which is why they don't have sticker shock. They did when Donald Trump did away with it the first time, and then the Republicans in New York were like, if we don't do something about this, we're going to lose. You know what? Then you deserve to lose. Let people know exactly what it is that they're expected to pay for, and then let them decide whether they want to keep paying it or not. It's not that complicated. But yeah, so $81,000 a year per person. And guess where about 60 to 70% of that money goes? Because it's not to the homeless. I've said this before, ladies and gentlemen. If we actually forced the government to do their jobs, eventually we wouldn't need government, or we definitely wouldn't need as much government as we have today. Because right now it is so overblown and so overbloated that there is no way for us to know exactly how much money they're stealing from us on the daily. But what is really scary about all of this, when you think about it, $81,000 annually per person to solve homelessness that is never solved, because if they solved it, then they wouldn't be able to collect $81,000 per person and then use most of that for administrative costs and emails so they can fundraise some more and salaries and everything else. Because, like it or not, that's where we are. And this is what is starting to be proven everywhere. We've got fraud rampant in California. We've got fraud rampant in Minnesota. I guarantee you, if somebody decided to crack the books open regarding the $81,000 per person annually that New York City is spending on the homeless, they would probably find rampant fraud there too. But here we go. But that's just it. The feral left is controlling the party. And because the feral left is controlling the party, most of the people that we would consider sane Democrats have left. Even a few that I wouldn't consider sane Democrats have left. Looking at you, John F. Kennedy Jr. Not throwing shade. I'm just saying, last I checked, dude with brain worm probably got something going on that I don't necessarily want to know about. Just saying. And don't need to know about. Well, I mean, kind of, sort of. But we all know Snake Plissken made it out, so yeah. But yeah, kind of, sort of. Sorry, responding to the chat there. By the way, you misspelled giggity, sir. Just so you know. Had to point that out. So, everybody kind of thought that Elisa Slotkin was kind of getting on board with, reinstating Department of Homeland Security, which I would be, to be completely honest, I'm kind of okay with defunding all of it and sending purviews back to the individual agencies because, again, I don't think Department of Homeland Security has done half the things that it was slated to do, and I don't think that it has done the things that it was supposed to do very well for the few that it has. But here, for the few that it has at least attempted to do. But so here is from Amy Curtis over at Town Hall. Remember just, what was it, a week or so ago? She was like, yeah, maybe it's time to do this again. But, 4 terror attacks later on American soil within the last month, it seems like Democrats have no interest in protecting Americans from the Islamist terrorists they allowed to enter the country, both during and before the Biden administration. Last week, it looked as if Lisa Slotkin was going to have a sudden attack of conscience, but that was last week. So after the Hezbollah, or as I used to call them back in the day, after the pager incident, the Hezbollahs linked Mohammed Ghazi, I think is it? Yeah, Ghazali, a Lebanese national who lives in Dearborn, drove his vehicle into the Temple Israel Synagogue in West Bloomfield. That vehicle was laden with fireworks and flammable liquid and caught fire. The new Durka was confronted by armed security too and ended up taking his own life without harming a single Jewish child. But during a press conference, Slotkin, who voted to keep the Department of Homeland Security shut down while the terrorist attack was unfolding in her state, told the media a ton of DHS folks and CBP, so they are on the call and they are doing their jobs. Certainly, we need to fund the Department of Homeland Security, and we need, in my view, to cut away all the conversation on ICE, which is its own conversation from the core missions of the Department of Homeland Security. But, as often happens, something changed within the last week because Slotkin, yet again, blocked a bill to fund DHS now for 2 weeks. So workers could get back to work and actually get a paycheck. So I know in one of the last segments when I was talking about the $81,000 per person and how they might as well just give them the money. Yeah, that's not going to work either because eventually the money's going to run out regardless. Kind of like what we're watching right now. So for all of you raging, rabid leftists who want the government to control everything and you want to be told what to do, when to do it because it makes you feel good and it makes you feel like you have a mommy and a daddy, you need to understand something. This is terrible because if we ever get to the point where what a lot of folks are talking about now is universal basic income. If you want to know how that's going to go for you at some point, if you decide there's something that you disagree with your government, look no further than the TSA that have now been working for weeks with no pay. Because you're trying to give the government way too much control of your life because you think it's going to give you security and safety, when in reality, it's just eventually going to make sure that you starve. Because your government doesn't care about you. You can pretend it does. You can try to say that it does. All of the above. But the truth about it is your government actually doesn't give a damn about you at all. And the sooner you come to terms with that, regardless of the letter behind their names, you can finally start to understand that these people are supposed to be working for us, not the other way around. And the only person that I have seen that is honestly trying to do that within the last decade or so, other than Ronald Reagan, was actually President Trump, which is why everyone who hates what he's trying to do is doing everything they can to subvert him, undercut him. I mean, we talked about this just the other day with his with one of his advisors. I can't remember the dude's name or his position at the moment because I don't have it in my notes. Who just a couple weeks ago, well, actually, I'm sorry, I think it was 2024-ish, 2025-ish, was talking about what a direct and present threat Iran was. until Trump tried to do something about it in 2026. And then he's like, I can't do this. I don't agree with this. But in reality, dude was actually under investigation. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. There is a shadow war underway against President Trump, and it's been that way in both his first term and now his second term. So so we need to talk about this for a minute. And this is from Josh Hammer before I go too far into this, and I will be kind of giving my commentary while going through the article a little bit for those of you who don't know how this normally works. The joint American-Israeli military operation against the Iranian regime is now 3 weeks old, but there is another war, a more silent one, raging here on the home front. President Donald Trump's second administration is facing a highly coordinated shadow war, one waged both by some influential outside voices on the right and, more dangerously, by their subversive allies within Trump's very own government. If this campaign is not confronted and decisively defeated, the result will be calamitous, a second Trump term that drifts into lame duck status, not due to a voter backlash, but because of an insurrection from within. What this writer, for the column that I'm currently discussing, has previously referred to as Operation Divide MAGA. And this has now reached a fever pitch. And Trump, to his great credit, has begun to settle all the MAGA family business. But an even more concerted effort is needed to clean out the Aegean stables once and for all. First, let's take a step back for a moment. In any healthy political coalition or movement, debate is inevitable and often desirable. But what we have seen from certain high-profile podcasters, such as Tucker, I always told you I was conservative, but I lied because I was born with a silver spoon up my butt and actually got my start on MSDNC before it became PMS Now. Carlson and Megan Trump talked trash about me several years ago, and I never really got over it. Kelly is nothing less than a full-scale assault on Trump and his agenda. These podcasters, former Fox News folks turned provocateurs, first outed themselves last summer when they all but accused Trump of covering up a global Mossad-tied pedophile ring over his Justice Department's handling of the Epstein files. But above all, these now subversive podcasters have focused on foreign policy, most recently on the Iran Operation Epic Fury. Trump is a conservative nationalist. His foreign policy is rooted in confidence and peace through strength style deterrence. Yet, Kuckelson and Kankles and their, well, I gotta come up with a new name for her because I call Hillary Kankles, but that I'm working on that one. And their fellow travelers have blasted the Iran conflict as everything from evil, according to Kuckelson, to clearly Israel's war, according to, I don't know, think about it, according to Kelly. This not-so-dynamic duo is thus accusing the man they quite literally campaigned for in 2024 of engaging in heinous acts and of being the unwitting dupe of a foreign government. So, yeah. Look. Again, I don't always agree with President Trump, but I have to say, I think I'm going to stop being quite so vocal about it when I do disagree. I mean, I'll still talk about it, but I think the man's getting enough flack. Now, look, if this thing in Iran isn't wrapped up soon, that may change for me. But right now, this man deserves all the support we can give him. He's earned it. He's doing everything he told us he was going to do. And the folks that can't see this or don't want to understand it have just lost their minds and they've lost their way. Or they're chasing money. Not yet, but that's actually coming up in the next hour, Denny, so good looking out. Yeah, we'll be changing tax, coming back a little bit local/national when we come back, because there was a shouting match that happened in Senate subcommittee the other day that I haven't had a chance to talk about, involving one of my senators. And one that I have come to not like very much. And I don't mean my senator, I mean the other one. But we'll be talking about that, the Rand Paul, Mark Wayne Mullin shouting match. On the other side, hour 1 is in the books. Hour 2 coming at you on the other side. Stay tuned.
Shut the lights down in the city, say the system's on the ropes, while the same hands that broke it hold your paycheck and your hopes. They'll sell your sweat for silver, call your sacrifice relief, but every drop of truth we bleed writes another line of belief. Freedom isn't free, it's carved in blood and fire and stone. It's the price of stand tall when they tell you to kneel and go home. They can lock up every promise, tax the air we breathe, but they'll never chain the hearts of those who still believe. 'Cause freedom isn't free. They preach peace from marble towers while they fence off your front yard. They wave a flag made out of rules and call obedience smart. They'll brand your voice as danger, they'll mock your faith as greed, but freedom don't need permission, it just needs men who bleed. Freedom isn't free, it's carved in blood and fire and stone. It's the price of standing tall when they tell you kneel and go home. They can lock up every promise, tax the air we breathe, but they'll never change the hearts of those who still believe. 'Cause freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free, it's written in red on history's page, a warning to the tyrants and the cowards of the age. They can bury us in silence, but the truth still screams. Freedom isn't free.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
Come gather round the footlights, lads, and hear the old boards groan. A tale of ink and iron will, of voices overblown. From mics and scripts to painted sails, we've traded shore for sea. The players will man the rigging soon. Aye, all hands, follow me. From Long John shadowed silver grin to Jim with compass true. We speak the words, we wear the scars, we make the old world new. No gold without the work behind, no legend without sweat. A stage, a ship, a single breath. The course is not set yet. We players sail, we players sail, we players sail soon. All hands to KLRN Radio, setting sail for Treasure Island, March 2026.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Got a vendetta. Coffee tastes like bad decisions I ain't made yet. Boss man talking about we got her, and that means me, brother. Afraid I got a terminal case of the I don't want us. Mind checked out, heart ain't in the building. That second hand's crawling like it hates my guts. The man treating rich like it's a sin, even God took a beat. So, suck it. Thank God it's Friday, punching out loud. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill's still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday. Cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't owning me. So raise 'em up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's all I know. break room sounding like a preacher, talking about culture smiles and being team players. Clipboard dreams on the fluorescent light, selling hours of my life just to make it to Friday night. Got dirt on my jeans, and grease on my hands, clock more over than quality plans. But when that bell rings, it's a holy sound. Feel like chains hit the floor when it echoes around. I ain't lazy, I just work my fill. If rest is a sin, guess I always will. Thank God it's Friday, punching out alive. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill's still waiting, but tonight don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit till Monday, cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait, it ain't on me. So raise 'em up high, let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday, that's all I know. Boss can have Monday, God on Sunday, but Friday night's mine, I ain't giving it away. I earned this beer, I earned this pay, earned every sip I'm about to take. Thank God it's Friday, punching out alive. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill's still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit till Monday, cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait, it ain't on me. So raise 'em up high, let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday, that's all I know.
And welcome into hour 2 of the Finally Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show, live right here on KLMradio.com. Don't forget, when this one is over, there'll be an hour break while I grab some lunch, and then we'll be back for the weekend news roundup with some of the usual suspects. Hopefully you guys will come back for that one as well. But again, it is Friday, and there's plenty of things to talk about. All right, so something I hadn't had a chance to talk about because I was going to talk about it earlier in the week, but wasn't able to do a show. Yeah, the weather around here has been nuts, so it kept messing with my mojo, man. So we're doing makeup work now because I have to. But here's a bit of this, and again, this one touches home because Mark Wayne Mullin is one of my senators, and is actually the one that I kind of like compared to who's left. I'm not gonna lie, he was not my favorite when he was in Congress. It seems like he found his footing a little bit more once he became a senator. And I also like the fact that, of course, the left is lambasting him because he shouldn't even be qualified for this job because he doesn't have a bachelor's degree. Dude, as somebody else who never took the time to actually officially get my bachelor's degree, even though I probably have almost enough credits to get one, I don't care about that. Actually, one of the things that I love seeing, especially lately, is this new ad campaign that's running, and it's from the ad council, so I may actually start seeing if I can find one and start running it here as a donated spot. Talking about basically tearing through the paper ceiling. Because as somebody who used to work for a university, there were tons of jobs that I had enough practical experience to be able to do, but because I didn't have my bachelor's degree, I was always put second to somebody who did. Even though I worked circles around most of those folks when I worked there. But that's why I don't work there anymore and started doing my own stuff full time. But anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the baby care product butt paste or not. Kind of seems like Rand Paul might have needed some of that before this exchange.
Do you think fighting as a resolution for political differences is a good example for the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol?
As you can notice over my shoulder here is my good friend Sean O'Brien. Both of us have had conversations, both of us have shaken hands, and both of us agreed we could have done things different. Sean is someone that has become a close friend. We talk all the time. I've been on his podcast. We've talked through this. That's how you handle your differences. Not like this, Chairman.
I'm glad you guys are friends now and that you've reconciled. But really, it doesn't get to the real point whether or not you think violence is the way we settle things. In the days after the fight, you said, and I quote, "Sometimes people just need to be punched in the face." Is that still your opinion, that political disputes can sometimes and often only be resolved by violence?
No, I don't always agree with that. I don't believe in political violence. I've made that. But sometimes people do need, theoretically speaking, sir, I get it. It's about character assassination for you. That's the way this game is played. I understand it. And you are making this about you, which is fine, but that doesn't keep me as Secretary of Homeland Security.
It's character assassination when you were the one lauding the assault. Who do you think started that character assassination? I'm just repeating what you have done in character assassination. I'm repeating your support for the assault. So that's somehow something I started.
Wah, wah, wah. You hurt my feelings and you never said sorry. Dude. All I'm going to say is caning needs to return to the Senate. And Rand Paul is probably lucky that one, I wasn't in there, and two, he's wearing glasses.
No, sir. What I'm saying is you're adding a lot to it.
Yeah. No, sir. What I'm saying is that you're adding a lot to it. Because again, look, dude, and this is the thing. And I feel like our society has gotten away from this because I remember half the people that I'm friends with now, and some of the people that have become lifelong friends, we started out hating each other, absolutely hating one another. And the difference between bitches and bros is this. We will duke it out. And then once we've duked it out and we know who's bigger, badder, and better, then we usually get together. We've settled it. Let's go have a beer. So yeah, I would have answered that differently if Rand Paul was asking me, sometimes do you feel like the only way to settle some of this stuff is through violence? Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. Because some of you absolutely deserve to get the brakes beat off of you. Because you think it's okay to talk trash. You think it's okay to insult people. You keyboard warriors think it's perfectly fine because, well, nobody's going to hurt me because we've evolved past that in this society. No, we have not. And this goes for parents. This goes for grandparents. This goes for people that are political keyboard warriors online. We got to get back to beating asses. Period. Because we wouldn't have half the crap happening in this country today if parents were still beating asses. And this whiny ass exchange between, especially with Rand Paul, just proves to me that Ron Paul was a bitch as a dad. I'm just going to say it. He obviously was a bitch as a dad because as one guy to another, sorry if you're listening, Dad, but no fucking way would I ever whine to another dude like he was doing there, especially knowing that it was going to be on national TV. This would have been something that would have been handled behind closed doors and might have actually been handled by one of us knocking the other out just to get it over with and get it done. But this This is the shit I don't want to see anymore in Congress. I don't want to see it anymore in the Senate. I don't want to hear the, oh, you said bad, you weren't nice to me, so now I'm going to hate you forever, blah, 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 blah. I mean, this is the same thing with fucking Thomas Massey. I don't know what the hell has happened to Thomas Massey, because there was a time I was pushing really hard to try to get him on my show. And that all changed about a year or so ago, because I just started seeing this change in him, and now he's become just this whinier, smaller version of Rand Paul, and it's annoying as fuck. It really is. It is annoying to have this exchange with Rand Paul. Reminds me exactly of what Thomas Massey did when he ran to whatever newspaper that was and said, well, I told the Speaker of the House that I would vote for his thing if he would give me credit for getting the Epstein files released. The fuck you just say? So you want an attaboy for supposedly doing your job? Hey, we have an Al sighting. How's things? Dude, yeah, him and Massey both, as far as I'm concerned, can just go take a long walk off of a short pier and never come back. And how are things where you're at, Al? I saw you were doing some studio stuff and then went and did some planning stuff. And then we're doing all kinds of things today. So I hope things are going well for you. I know I finally have most of my stuff here put back together after we had 70-mile-an-hour straight line winds. That was fun. That was fun. That was fun. But yeah. All right. So because this one is long and I do have a lot of things to talk about on the other side. Day drinking. Where's mine, man? Rude. You're supposed to share. You're supposed to share. All right. So anyway, as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by my friends drinking without me. We're going to go ahead and get the military tribute break out of the way because this one's a bit long and I still have lots of things to talk about on the other side. So just hang out. Like I said, this one's long, but it's that way on purpose because I want to, again, make sure that I include everyone. And the actual original version was longer. This is the radio edit, so that should tell you something. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Before the oath was spoken out loud, before you stood apart from the crowd, there was a moment, quiet and clear, when you chose to stand while others stayed here. You raised your hand with a steady resolve, knowing some nights don't end when the mission's done. Not for glory, not for the pay, but for something worth more than walking away. Only hold the line. They carried the weight where the roads ran long, through dust and heat when the days went on, holding ground mile after mile, doing the work that rarely drew a smile. They stood their post when relief ran late, shoulders squared under the pull of fate. Not chasing headlines, not asking why, just staying put when others pass by. We stand watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to. We stand watch over the deep. Navy. They kept their watch where the water turns black, miles from shore with no quick way back, measuring time by the rise and the fall, answering duty's unrelenting call. Through silent hours and endless seas, they stood their post in the cold night breeze, guarding the lanes the world depends on, so others slept and the light stayed on. We stand the watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to. Simplify Marine, we go where we're sent. We go where we're sent. They moved as one when the moment came, side by side through fire and rain. First to step where the ground was thin, not for the odds, but for the ones beside them. Trust was earned in the hard way through, every promise carried by the few. No turning back once the line was crossed. They stood shoulder to shoulder as brothers, never counting the cost. We stand the watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to. Air Force, the sky is our domain. Air Force, the sky is our domain. They held their focus where seconds seem eternal, soaring between clouds and blue. Every movement measured and true, knowing what one clean moment could do. They watch the whole while guarding the small, every mission tied to a larger call. Calm under pressure, steady and clear, keeping the promise from far overhead. Space Force, we guard the dark without veil. They keep their vigil where silence reigns, beyond the weather, beyond the rain. Watching the paths that the world relies on, long before the warning lights come on. No cloud, no banners, no clear view, just constant care in a canvas full of stars. Standing the watch through the endless night, guarding the systems that keep us in light. While the watch is kept and the lines hold fast, there are lives still moving on the other side of that. Empty chairs and quiet phones, long goodbyes that don't feel done. Names we carry but never say, folded flags and debts we pay. Every service, every scar reaches farther than the uniform ever could. Coast Guard, we come when it matters most. They launch into storms when hope feels thin. Turning back isn't an option then. Hands reach out where the waters rise, pulling lives back from the edge of time. No headlines waiting when the call is done, just breathing restored and another life won. Every rescue, every return, a quiet promise kept in the worst conditions. We stand the watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to. For the ones who raised the right hand high, swore the oath and didn't ask us why. For the nights you stood where freedom cost, we remember, we honor, we won't forget the loss. From the ground to the sea, to the open sky, to the guardians above where the silent stars fly. passion and the cost that came with it. We promise to remember those who serve, those who stand watch still, and those who never came home.
And welcome back in for the Finally Friday edition, final segment of the It's Finally Friday edition of the Rick Robbins Show. Don't forget, there'll be about an hour break after we conclude here, and then I'll be back with the Weekend News Roundup crew for about an hour or so, and then I'll be back later tonight for He Said, She Said with the lovely Aggie Regan at 8:30, and I am still awaiting confirmation as to whether or not we can start running a new show, well, new to us anyway. Kind of new to the partner that we run a lot of their stuff with too. Beer and Bullstein is slated to hit our schedule, but I need final confirmation as to whether we can start that tonight or next week. So yeah, lucky enough, usually I'm already here anyway, and it's right around the same time. So I think I'm gonna show for the nights that I don't have to do anything. I'm gonna show the From Porch Forensics crew how to snag feeds and do all those things, so then I can just, no matter where I'm at, link in and push everything else, and then they can just go straight into theirs and be done. Anyway, because yeah, we're getting too big for me to do all this by myself while I'm sitting at my desk, or I never get to go anywhere or do anything because I'm always sitting at my desk. He gave me times. I asked, I need an actual email that says when I have authorization to start it, so I've covered all my bases. He gave me times and gave me runtime, but when I said, would you prefer if we started this tonight or next week, he never responded to that one. Sorry, I'm talking to BZ, one of the other group members in my chat currently. So I just need final confirmation as to when he wants us to start. It's just because I don't want him. Well, I didn't give you final permission. Yeah, believe it or not, I ran into that before. So yeah. Anyway, so speaking of getting final permission, I find this interesting because I feel like this might be one of those stars kind of aligning things, because I feel like this is when, you remember when Jeff Bezos like swept in and bought the Washington Post for like $1? I feel one of those moments possibly brewing, because CBS News Radio is signing off for good. So they've been around for about 100 years. But CBS News Radio is being dissolved and will cease operations effective May 22nd, 2026. Why do I feel like this might be the stars aligning? My birthday's May 25th. So I'm like, I already tagged Barry Weiss. I'm like, is there going to be a fire sale? Can I swoop in and buy the network for $1? Can we make that happen? Can we? But yeah, so anyway, after nearly 100 years, CBS News Radio is being dissolved per a note from Barry Weiss and Tom Sobrowski to CBS staff today. Okay, so look, I have actually kind of been a fan of some of the stuff Barry Weiss has done. You know, letting 700 stations know, and God knows how many staff know that, you know, and you send them a memo that says, hey, by the way, in May your job ends. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. But anyway, so here's the actual message. Today, we informed our CBS News Radio team. So I guess maybe they did it outside of the memo, so that makes me feel a little bit better. CBS News Radio team and approximately 700 affiliated stations. Could you imagine if we were able to swoop in and get the rights for that for $1? That we will end the service on May 22nd, 2026. Unfortunately, this decision means that all positions within CBS News Radio team are being eliminated. Not shuffled, not spun off like NBC did with what I loving, not so lovingly now called PMS Now. But yeah, just gone. So we understand how difficult this news is for our staff and their colleagues who have worked side by side with us to cover some of the most significant stories of our time and normally botch them, especially lately. Oh, wait, did I say that was supposed to stay in my brain pan? Sorry. While this was a necessary decision, it was not an easy one. A shift in radio station programming strategies, coupled with challenging economic realities, has made it impossible to continue the service. We are sharing this announcement now to fulfill our commitments to our radio partners and affiliates, which require advance notice of the service's conclusion. For nearly 100 years, CBS News Radio has delivered original reporting to the nation. From Edward R. Murrow's World War II reports in London to today's daily White House updates. Our signature broadcast, World News Roundup, remains the longest running newscast in the country's history. CBS News Radio served as the foundation for everything we have built since 1927, and yet we are scrapping that foundation. I have some thoughts as to why, but I want to finish this first. The coming weeks will be difficult for the team members who have worked tirelessly at CBS News Radio. We are committed to supporting their valued colleagues as we wind down operations. They have been critical to our success and remain treasured friends and professionals. We thank them deeply for their contributions. Thank you for all your dedication and for the compassion you show one another as we move forward. Yeah, compassion. In this industry, are you serious? You're serious. You're actually serious. Dude, there's a reason that folks like me that have done this stuff, even though I kind of did it backwards. I started podcasting first and then broke my way into radio and then started backing my way back out of radio because the animal is different now. And that's part of the problem with CBS News Radio is the profitability is gone. Because you have all of these giant conglomerates gobbling up every station that they can find and then pushing out people that actually give a damn about what they do. And I've seen this happen over and over and over again. As a matter of fact, it's so bad here that they have completely stopped any actual live local talk radio on our biggest supposed station in the market that I'm in. They don't even have live local programming anymore. They have live news breaks that are local, but everything else that they have now where they used to have it, and trust me, the industry's changed a lot. It used to be mornings, lunchtimes, and afternoons would be when you got local programming. Then it went to mornings and afternoons. Then it went just to afternoons, and now they don't have any because the industry is changing and the industry is not cost effective anymore. And the industry, they figured out that they can pre-record bits and throw them in instead of actually paying people to be sitting in a studio like I'm sitting in right now. I mean, when I started doing work and actually nearly got hired on full time at 1520, I got a tour and I was absolutely astounded by how many of their supposed radio stations were a closet with a server and a spot with a microphone that somebody could record their stingers and their top of the hour updates, and they would just rotate them in on the computer. And it would just be this thing where it would play music, and then it would come in like the DJ was being live, and then it would do this and it would do that. And I'm like, yeah, the radio is not gonna. But the thing about it is, radio is still a thing. Problem is that now we're transitioning to new types of radio. I still consider what I'm doing right now radio, and I know a lot of folks don't. And trust me, I used to be one of those sticklers about it. It's not audio only, so it shouldn't count. It's not a podcast, but it is. But it is. But the world is changing because now you have, I mean, hell, when I got into this full time, there were about 2.5 million podcasts. Now there's 5 million. So, tells you how saturated the market is. And that is honestly, look, I get it. But folks like Sean Hannity that do live radio and then do the TV show and then put out the podcast for later, and now he's starting another just kind of Bill Maher style podcast on Fox Nation. Dude, why? Why do y'all got to gobble up all the bandwidth? There are so many of us that actually give a damn about what it is that we're doing and actually are trying to claw our way into being at least somewhat noticed without having to put our feeds out everywhere, which is what I've learned how to do. And some days I do really, really well, and some days it's like nobody sees me, but that's because of the algorithm, which is going to give me a chance to talk about something that I want to talk to you about real quick. I want to introduce you to I would say new friends, but they're not really new friends. They've been friends of mine for a while. I haven't really talked about them much because they didn't have an app before now, but it's Pickaxe. You can find them in your Google Play Store or your Apple Store. Do they even call it the Apple Store anymore? I think it's just called the App Store now. Anyway. So anyway, they have apps available in both major platforms, and there are no algorithms. You are the algorithm. You decide who you want to interact with. You decide who you want to follow. They decide if they're going to follow you back, and then you actually get to see their content. One of the things, and this is something that Elon Musk apparently kind of snuck in, is this. Yes, on his platform, you have the right to pretty much say everything that you want to say, unless or until it gets flagged by the algorithm. But here's the thing. Even for the stuff that doesn't get flagged by the algorithm still decides who gets to see what you post. Doesn't matter if they're following you. Doesn't matter if you follow them. Doesn't matter if you interact all the time. As a matter of fact, here's one of the trying to monitor my language a little bit more because I got away from it. But here's one of the crappiest, I guess would be a nice way to put it, things about X. The more you interact with people, your usuals, your mutuals, the ones I call my usual suspects. Yeah, the more you interact with them, the more the algorithm suppresses you. Because they treat it as if you're trying to game the system and boost each other's reach. So they start pushing you down lower and lower and lower below what I call the social media thermal layer. For those of you who don't know what I'm referencing, please go watch something akin to The Hunt for Red October. You can hear Jonesy talking about it. Well, we've got to get below the thermal layer or above the thermal layer so I can hear what's there. So social media is kind of the same way. If you're at a certain point, you're going to be seen by the people that are at the same level as you are. But there is kind of a thermal layer where if something happens to catch fire, you get above it for a little bit. So for those of you who, usually kind of hang out in your own little bubble and all of a sudden you've got trolls coming into your feed, yeah, it's probably because one, they've either activated a bot farm, which is not supposed to be a thing on X anymore, by the way, or you've caught the attention of the algorithm for a little bit. Question is, how long can you hold it? Because the algorithm is very picky. It's one of the things that I like about Pickaxe. Now, granted, I haven't been over there that much, so I have a whopping 51 followers right now. But I got 2 people out of the 51 that are following me wanting to start checking out our stuff. That's a better conversion rate than I get on X half the time, and I have 12,000 followers over there. None of which were bought and paid for before anybody says anything. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about with this is not only are they dissolving CBS News Radio, but they're laying off an additional 6% of their staff. As somebody who works in this industry, I don't like hearing that. But I also understand it. Because nobody's paying attention to zombie media anymore. I mean, look at CNN. And here's the dirty little secret with CNN, and I didn't know this until the contract was gone. One of the things that was propping up CNN's numbers for the last probably 10, 15 years was their contracts with airports. But here's the thing. I thought the airports were paying them to have their news on their TVs, in their lounges, and in their boarding areas. And guess what? No. CNN was paying the airports to boost their ratings. Now, for those of you who don't know why this pisses me off, there are services that could technically be used to supposedly make us grow, shall we say. But because it violates terms of service, except for some reason you can actually do it on X itself and say, hey, I want to promote this post, and then it gets put in front of more eyeballs. But if you do it with third party, that's bad. That's bad. And that can get your entire account banned. CNN was doing that with airport monies. They were fluffing their numbers. Fluffing their numbers. And you'll notice now that, I mean, there are times when CNN has worse ratings than Scooby-Doo reruns. Same with PMS now. Same with PMS now. All right, so we got to talk about this, and then we'll start rounding things down. I've got a couple of quick hits on the way out, but I got to talk about this because I haven't talked about it much lately. All right, so at last counts, we know that within the last couple of months, there have been in Iran anywhere between, depending on the numbers that you want to believe, 35,000 to 60,000 people that have been murdered by the regime, including a 19-year-old wrestler who was just hung either yesterday or today. So to all my leftist friends who apparently love Islam, where's your genocide cry? Does it not count as genocide because it's Muslim on Muslim violence, even though they're two completely different sects of Muslim? Does that mean you only consider one of them legitimate? Is that what's going on? Because I want to know where the outcries are. Because if this was anywhere else, especially with a 19-year-old being publicly hanged, y'all would be having a meltdown all over the place. Where's it at? Why don't you care? The same people that were fine with paying anywhere, because under Joe Biden, if you think gas prices are bad now, imagine what would have happened under Joe Biden if we had gone all in on Ukraine. We would have probably been paying anywhere between $9 to $10 a gallon in California, which would have put it to somewhere between $7 to $9 a gallon here. But y'all are suddenly concerned with gas prices. Y'all are suddenly concerned with inflation. Y'all are suddenly concerned with affordability. You know what? I don't give a crap about affordability right now. I don't. I give a crap about the fact that this administration is trying to clean up a mess that we started well before most of us were alive. This is our fault. What happened in Iran is our fault. We had a very short-sighted foreign policy. We were terrified of another socialist regime cropping up, so we did what we thought we had to do to make that stop. And all we did, because we normally do, is make things worse. That's why I'm really glad so far to hear President Trump not talking about us being involved with any form of formal regime change or nation building. And I hope he sticks to that. Because we don't need our boots on the ground here. We don't. Israel can put boots on the ground. The UAE can put boots on the ground. Saudi Arabia can put boots on the ground. Let them take out the trash, because honestly, it was our mess and we created it, but they've been their neighbors for forever and they have been living under their thumb. Nobody wants to talk about that part of it. Everybody wants to talk as if there's some sort of shot caller somewhere else, and there might be in the UAE or in Qatar, but they still have ties directly back to Iran. And Iran's been the dog walker. They've been the ones telling everybody what to do. That's why when we went in and started trying to do what we were going to do, because we were tired of watching them slaughter people and tired of them declaring war on us every other day, but we can't do anything about it because it was just words, Rick. No, dude, I'm just being honest. If somebody looks at me and says, you're not going to know when it's going to happen, but I'm going to kick your ass, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to wait till they're not expecting it, and I'm going to beat their ass. Because they started it as soon as they told me what they were going to do. And they have been telling us for 47 years that they wanted us dead. And they have been showing us for 47 years that they wanted us dead. How much more crap do we have to take? Why is it, especially with these Hollywood punks who do this all the time, they wait in the movies. They wait until somebody says or does something that they consider is across the line, and suddenly they're taking care of business. But now we have a president willing to do that, and everybody wants to, well, we shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be doing this. This is a new war. No. Just because you wanted to keep your head in the sand and not acknowledge the fact that Iran has been telling us since 1979 that they were at war with us and they wanted us dead, that doesn't change the fact that they've been at war with us since 1979 and wanted us dead. That would be like, and I'm going to cross into near conspiracy territory for a second, because one of the things, and I've never been able to validate this, even as somebody that actually does a conspiratainment show, but one of the things that has been circulating for the longest time is that our leadership actually knew about Pearl Harbor and let it happen as an excuse and a justification to finally get involved in the war. I don't want to believe that, and I don't think that's true, especially with who the president was at the time. I believe if he had known that that was happening, he would have preemptively done something about it. I could be wrong, but that's exactly what happened here. They have been telling us for 47 years that they were at war with us, even if we didn't want to acknowledge that we were at war with them, and they wanted us dead. And that's why a lot of us in 2001-ish were cool with going into Afghanistan first and then dealing with Iraq, because, look, I know everybody, there was no evidence of weapons of mass destruction, Rick, and you're talking about conspiracy theories. No, I'm not, because I've seen the satellite footage of, tracks of very heavy vehicles going off towards places like Syria. Nobody can. What happened to them? We don't know. And then there's reports of Syria using chemical weapons on its own people. Oh, no, we can't verify whether those were from Iran. Bullshit. Look, I am not a weapons expert, not in that fashion, but I do know that they have fingerprints, and you can kind of tell where they were created from and what they were, where they were created at and what they were created from. So I'm pretty sure we knew exactly where those chemical weapons came from. But it was unpopular. Because we're supposed to be the kinder, gentler America now. Only thing I'm going to say to that is that gets the same thing 9 to 5 gets on Fridays. The double middle finger. Because kinder, gentler America got our asses handed to us over and over and over again. Because we didn't have the stomach for what we needed to do. The world would be completely different right now if we had treated Korea the way we're treating Iran right now in the last 3 weeks. The world would be completely different right now, and we may not have even needed to go into Vietnam if we hadn't fought Korea to a stalemate and then basically done the same thing in Vietnam. Here's the thing nobody's talking about. We were winning in Vietnam. We keep talking about how we lost it. We were winning. The administration lost the taste for what we were doing because we don't have the stomach for killing people and breaking things anymore, even when they deserve it. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say this just to say it, especially when they deserve it. Because any Islamist that is calling us kafir, any Islamist that is openly talking about taqiyya, any Islamist who is basically saying we're not here to assimilate, we're here to colonize, and eventually this country will be our country because this land is already our land, that makes them an enemy in my book. If it doesn't make them an enemy in your book, that means you're one of the squishes that I don't really want to have anything to do with anymore. So, please feel free to find your way to the door. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this particular episode of The Rick Robinson Show. I know it was a weird week because I had weather issues going on Sunday and Monday, and then Wednesday I had to have techs out to get things working again and get things going and all that fun stuff and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But anyway, I also, we did wind up doing Wednesday night, and I am doing 3 shows today, so I kind of feel like I'm still earning my keep around here. Speaking of, there'll be about an hour break, and then I'll be back with the Weekend News Roundup crew right here, available on X Live, Rumble Live, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, and also available on Pickaxe under Rumble because they don't have any streaming yet. But I may have an announcement about that soon because I have a plan. But I have some calls I have to get out of the way first. So once I know, y'all will know. But I may have a plan on getting folks to maybe partner with Pickaxe to see if we can kind of take another bite out of X. Because, dude, I really thought Elon Musk was going to change the world. And he did. So I'm not trying to crap on him because he's the reason we won in 24. Sorry. I forgot what year it was. Yeah, he's the reason we won in 24. But he's also the reason we might be losing in 26 because the BS is still prevalent. And he's too busy being a customer of X to do anything about how broken it is. So, I don't know. I know you guys are, dude, I hear from everybody. I don't need another social media platform. Which means it's probably about time to talk about one of our other friends, which is Signal Chat. Freedom Chat, not Signal. So if you use something like Signal or maybe WhatsApp, first of all, get WhatsApp off your phone. There's a bunch of sex bots on that thing, and you don't want nothing to do with them. Some of you might, but for most of us, yeah, not so much. But check out my friends at Freedom Chat as we get ready to get out of here. Freedomchat.com takes you right there, tells you all about them, lets you decide which version of the app works best for you and even helps you get to it. So freedomchat.com, check them out. Freedom Chat is awesome, and if the administration had been using that rather than Signal, the whole Signalgate thing wouldn't have happened because there is no way to do screen captures inside of Signal Chat. Just saying. All right, we're going to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Again, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I apologize for not paying much attention to the chat for the last half. I had lots of things to talk about, and I didn't want to get distracted. But we'll be back in about an hour. Bye, everybody. Say goodnight, Gracie.